You are listening to the Creative Women's League podcast. I'm your host and biggest fan, Kate Toney. Creative women entrepreneurs all over the globe turn to the Creative Women's League for social media advice, marketing help, and to get their minds in the mode to achieve bigger than they ever thought possible. Whether it's hearing the journey of your favorite creative badasses or the expert business advice shared, CWL is here for you with a whole lot of laughs, heaps of honesty, and endless support. Because over here, we know the secret sauce to building your creative empire all starts with motivation, inspiration, know-how, and community. If you want to exceed every goal, defeat the doubt, cast out fear, and connect with your fellow creative Wonder Woman, well, my dear, it's time to join the Creative Women's League. Hello, how are you? It's suddenly like, hello. Huh. What's happening? Hi, how are you? Okay, you ready to go? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is part one. I wanted to do kind of a two-part thing so you can hear in real time about the nervousness. Just because a lot of you talk to me, you'll be like, oh my gosh, how are you not freaking out right now? Or the opposite will happen. You'll be like, oh, you got this. It's no problem at all. So I thought since we all kind of experience these new nervous feelings around experiences like going to do my first Bernina Academy, that we could share it real time. You can hear it. And the before and after is so important. So this might be, I thought a good use for this episode might be if you are approaching something that you're extremely nervous about. You can listen to this and remember that after you're going to feel great about it. Because I do know, in my logical mind, I do know that I'm going to feel great after this experience. Just right now, I'm freaked out. So with me is Brad.
Hi.
Because we just recorded last week's episode. He's drawing himself on the little draw yourself thing that's been going around on stories. So, a nice slurp for the for the listeners.
It's an ASMR podcast.
Oh, I wish. So Brad is always with me, kind of. You cannot keep setting that on the table. You're going to kill people. It is going to be so loud. You have to hold your coffee.
It'll be all right.
So, Brad's with me through a lot of this because he's the person I turn, like I'll just text him from the other room and be like, hi, I'm freaking out. So right now, let's talk about what my nervousness looks like. I think the one thing you always remind me is that I'm nervous because I want to do a good job. And that's where it's stemming from.
Yeah, I mean, it shows you care. And ultimately, like, you want to kick ass at this. So you put a lot of yourself into it. And being nervous about the outcome of how you'll do is ultimately just a sign of wanting to do really well at it. And it shows you care. Yeah, I want to... So that's where... Let's talk about what my nervousness is. Right now, it's the prep. I'm all these last minute preparations. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the new people on the team. So I feel like what happens if I go in and I'm underprepared and I left something at home or I didn't do something I was supposed to do. I like to plan for all situations that arise, and I can't necessarily do that because I haven't done it yet. So a lot of this will go away with experience. I just want to do a really good job. So I'm very nervous about it. And there's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes with it. A couple of my samples didn't go as planned. I was sewing and they looked terrible. And I was like, see, this is why you shouldn't be here. Like, you shouldn't do this job because you can't even sew right. So how can you teach other people to use this machine? Oh, hi, Amelia. I mean, a lot a lot of that's just going to be, you'll have an idea of how you want it to look. And then, as any teacher will tell you, you just kind of have to adapt, with what ultimately feels comfortable when you're up there, like, speaking to people. If it might look right when it's written down, but it doesn't feel right when you're saying it, just adapt a little bit and, find what is comfortable. Because it is your first go, so you're not, you might not be able to just sort of hit the ground running with it, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's just like with anything. When I can remember first giving classes to people and trying to explain things to them, and to me they sounded right, but ultimately I also had to recognize that I knew what my intent was in speaking, in giving those directions. So they might not necessarily get it right away, and that's not necessarily your fault. It's just something that you learn to adapt to, in being flexible with how you present your information.
Yeah, I'm not. That's the thing is, I've gone into classes and I've been much less prepared than this, but the stakes didn't feel as high, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like the stakes are high and I want to do a kick-ass job. And also, me, like, I want to go in and do the best job that is possible. And I want to do the best job that is possible starting with the first one. So logically, I know I need to give myself some time to ease into it and to warm up and to find my cadence and my stride. I'm also, there's 4 people going out this weekend and we're the first 4 people to present. So I'm one of the first 4 people presenting this. So it's just hard. It's like...
Well, I think they knew that going into that.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those situations where you hope for the best but prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's your first go. So the expectations, I don't think by any metric are necessarily low, but I don't think they're going to be set too high either. I think given what you're capable of, and the fact that you've had a hand in helping out with these classes before too,
yeah,
that you won't totally be lost when you're up there.
No, and I've had the time to go over the slides, and I'm going to go over them again right before we go, and probably on the plane, and probably in our Airbnb.
Yeah.
And yeah,
you'll go over them. Just being in that position before, you'll go over them a billion times between then and there, just so you know like what's on them.
It's an interesting fluctuation because I'm constantly oscillating between you should give up, you suck, go hide under a rock, like truly mean feelings about myself, oscillating over to you freaking got this. You're going to do great. Everybody believes in you. You can do this. They wouldn't let you do this if they didn't think you could handle it. So it's hard. It's totally a minute to minute thing right now. The nerves are just building right up. And I think one of the good things about this as well is that I do have this event team around me. I have you. I have a support system of people who are like, you've got this, but particularly the event team. 'Cause I wrote in the Facebook group that we have, like, guys, I'm freaking out. Like, I told them I'm oscillating between you got this and you're going to suck at this. And they all wrote back, we're all feeling the same thing. And I think other than me and the other 2 team members who joined this time, I think everybody else has been doing it for at least 3 years at this point. So it's interesting. It's interesting that everybody else feels nervous about it, but it helped me reframe my nerves as first day of school jitters. It's more just like, will I be able to find my classes? And will I have friends in those classes? And what happens if they switch me out of gym? Those kinds of things. Oh, I hope nobody shoves me in a locker. But I've been able to reframe them. If we had done this recording, 2 days ago? It would have just been a stream of consciousness about how I suck. But I think you can tell. I just realized I've said more than I've ever said on a podcast. I have said more than I've ever said on a podcast. And it's all that nervousness coming through. It's all the anxiety about what is going to come. That's why I think this episode will be interesting. I'm also thrilled that Brad's going with me for this first one because it's going to be his 30th birthday. We're going to do DC in the days after the class. But I'm really glad because if I had to go, I was very nervous to go to Bernina training and I was very nervous to go to BU. They're all just new experiences. And I spiraled out a little bit on those. Not so much with BU, but definitely with the training. I spiraled out. Brad setting his cup down so quiet.
You spiraled out a little bit for BU too.
Oh, true. Before.
Yeah.
The night before.
You were.
Yeah.
You were feeling it.
Well, I was thinking about the spiraling out I did because I did all that travel to Chicago for the training. When I got on the airplane, I was like, I don't want to be a travel person. I don't want to do this. And I just had to put on a book and calm myself down. BU, I had all my spiraling out before. It was all the things I'd put on my plate to go. And then once I gave in to that and you and Holly Ann really told me hey, go to bed, shut up, calm down. That's when I was able to be oh yeah, readjust. So I'm taking the things I learned from those two experiences and putting it into this. And I think that's why it's not so much of a all-consuming panic as much as it is it's coming in and out. And like I said, I'm reframing it as back to school jitters. Just the excitement. Yeah.
And being excited and wanting to do well at something, I think is a good way to put it. We all have those moments where we don't think that we deserve to be where we're at.
Yeah, imposter syndrome moments.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the really good one with Neil Gaiman and Neil Armstrong.
I want to talk about that in an episode, so don't go too far into it.
Okay, all right.
I want to do an episode about imposter syndrome, and I guess if you're super curious, you could go look it up right now. But I think one of the episodes in the near future has to be about
because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and you have to ultimately. I suffer from it quite a bit, especially with some of the things that I work on, and I'm just wow, I don't need it. Why am I here? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, mine's imposter syndrome because I'm kind of in a lot of these things by my Creative Women's League and stuff. I'm in here by myself doing it, and I'm nobody's listening. You're speaking into the void. Nobody cares. And then Bernina, I have more of that effect that you have when you're going in and working with these big sports teams and stuff. It's well, I'm not Kaka, so why the hell am I here?
Yeah, there's a moment where you're looking at the people that you're around and you're holy shit, they're so good at what they do. Why am I here? And then you look back on it later and you're well, no, I'm actually kind of good too.
Yeah, I can do this. I have a purpose here and a role to play, and that's it. I just want to be a good team member. The bar was set so high with the Bernina classes last year. I'm headed into a dealer who hasn't done it before, which actually is making me more nervous rather than less nervous.
Right, but I think those are things that you can't necessarily control.
No, I can't. And I'm a control freak and I want to control things.
But see, therein lies the difference. Things that I know that I don't have any control over, I just forget just as quickly as anything else. If I know if I do not have any bearing on the outcome of it, I don't care about it.
Yeah.
If it's not something that I can have an effect on, I just don't let it bother me.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see how this episode pans out from here. I really am. It's weird to record a first half. This is the day before we leave.
Yeah,
so
we'll be there by now.
Oh yeah.
We'll be in Virginia by the time we
24 hours from now.
Yeah.
And by the time you guys hear this, I'll already be back and record the second half. So this is the day before we leave, and then the second half will be recorded the day after we get back. So I hope I did good. I freaked out, y'all. Okay. I'd say wish me luck, but you guys, the luck will already have happened.
Luck is for losers.
Oh, shoot. Dang, we're going to leave it on that. All right, guys, this is part 2 of the episode. I wasn't going to have Brad back for this part, but here he is.
Here I am.
Don't repeat everything I say.
Don't repeat everything you say?
So, yeah, the point of this episode, right, is to show, like, the fear that I had before, and I really knew, ultimately, that everything was going to be okay on the other side. So I thought it was good if I showed, Brad, I know you're being sweet and touching my leg, but you hit the table. What are you going to do with this guy, guys? Anyway, no, he really was being sweet, because it was supposed to be about the anxiety I felt before, and I knew that I'd feel better after and feel like, you know, obviously there'd be things I could improve upon, but I would do a great job at Finch and have a great time with them. That got really derailed.
Yeah, like the first night. Like, not even, it didn't even wait.
No. So, okay, so I've been hinting at it on social media. What happened was I woke up 3 a.m. when we're supposed to leave, and I felt terrible. I was like waddling around, and like I did like the finishing touches on packing, like squatting down because I was so bloated in my stomach. And so that was fun. But then it kind of dissipated. We were fine. Did the thing, got to Leesburg, which was freaking adorable. We fell in love with that pretty instantly. And then we headed, I headed to Finch. We ate and stuff. My anxiety was super high at that point because I had to go set up at the shop, and I just really wanted things to get moving and be over with. Yeah. I went there, set up. I wasn't feeling great. Still feeling pretty bloated, but you guys know, and I think we even joked about it in the first part of this episode, which we recorded a week ago, so I don't really remember. But we were joking about how I hadn't been clean eating since Brad's family came into town, and then we had this trip. So I just figured we had pizza for lunch. I really shouldn't eat dairy, bloated, not feeling great because of it. I was like, I have to have vegetables for dinner. Brad shows up to the event location, and I'm like, I have to have vegetables for dinner. I feel terrible. And actually, the second I sat in the car, I said, I think my kidneys hurt. I was like, where's my kidney? I think my kidney hurts. And then I was like, I don't know. I just don't feel good. So we went and sat. I ate a salad. I drank a ton of water. And throughout the course of dinner, which was not a long dinner. No,
it was pretty quick. I had a sandwich. You had a salad.
It showed up like immediately. And by the time we were done, I was like, I feel horrible. That was the first time I had mentioned like my appendix. Like, I think it's my appendix. It hurts right here. Like, where is my appendix? How would that feel? And this was when Brad said, I think you have a kidney stone. And, yeah, you guys know I've had a lot of weird health issues, but it takes a lot for me to go to a doctor. I'm just from a family that does that. It's not great, actually.
Yeah, you have a former Army medic that you're dating, and yet, like, you will draw out wanting to go to
Well, I kept deferring to you. But anyway, I kept deferring to you and saying, like, what do you think this is? Is this bad? And ultimately, we decided, like, let's go to CVS. Fortunately, Nicole from Finch was sweet enough to give me her car for the weekend. So we had a car. We could just drive. Went to CVS. Brad went in, got me chocolate bars and water and
Advil.
An Advil. That was the thing. So and the chocolate bars were my favorite kind of chocolate bars.
I like how you let off with the chocolate bar. Like, that was how I was going to treat you, was
Well, that
chocolate.
was the sweet thing. It was so sweet to look in there and see chocolate bars, because that's whenever Brad knows I'm not feeling well. He gets me those Dove dark chocolates. But anyway, he
Gosh. By the time you came out, I was on the phone with my dad because my dad is very like level-headed and calm during these things. My mom would have panicked and freaked out. So I called my dad and I was like sobbing at this point. Like the second I heard his voice, I started crying. And I was like, I just really don't feel good. My back hurts so much. And my dad was like, well, touch this spot on your stomach. Does that hurt? And I was like, no. He's like, it's not sore to the touch. And I was like, it hurts in my body, but it doesn't hurt to touch. And he's like, it's not your appendix. Get to urgent care. And Brad was like, no kidding. I've been telling you to get to urgent care. So we head over to urgent care and things just really went downhill fast.
Yeah.
Fast, right?
Yeah, they sort of happened pretty quickly when we were there.
I wasn't feeling great. I had Brad. I made sure Brad was by my side during all of it because that just I did not know what was going on. I didn't feel good. It was horrible. I was really nauseous and my stomach hurt and was bloated and my back felt like it was ripping in two. Like really. At that point I thought, because my dad had also said maybe muscle spasms because of how bad my back hurt. But this urgent care is amazing. So they're not only doing like urinalysis, they were like strep can have abdomen pain. And you guys know I have a long history with strep. So I was like, oh, it's got to be strep then. That's probably it. Went and did my urinalysis. They're like, well, it's... and actually, what I never told you, and this is probably TMI for everybody, but at that point, I was like, first time I'd ever noticed, it probably makes sense now. First time I'd ever noticed, I don't know if it was the first time ever, like, it was like super cloudy, like not normal pee. So I'm like, well, that doesn't look great. And I hand it over to him. They put us in a room, and I just start to get in worse and worse and worse pain, and it's horrible. And then the nurse comes in. She has me lay down so she can take some blood. So she takes a lot. That was not fun. It was pretty painful as far as blood drawing goes. I don't know why.
The phlebotomist just came in and went.
Yeah, that was painful. So they drew blood and I laid down and that was the first time I felt good for a second. I was like, oh, that feels nice. And then I shot up out of my seat because suddenly the pain was unbearable. Completely unbearable. I was like that. My legs were shaking. I was sobbing. I was telling Brad, like, there's nothing I can do to make this feel better. I'm going to puke. I was like freaking out. Half hour of that. And then I kind of just turned to Brad and I was like, I think it's subsiding. I think it's getting better. Doctor comes in and she's like, well, we have your results. I hear you're in terrible pain. We know you have a kidney infection and we think you maybe have kidney stones. And I just said, like, beyond a shadow of doubt, I was like, no, that was definitely a kidney stone. And she looked at me like, what? And I was like, no, the pain is passing. So I bet it was a kidney stone. I bet I just passed. I've never passed one. I don't know what that feels like, but how atrocious the pain was and how it's now subsiding, I bet it was. And she's like, well, if you really think so, we can give you a strainer or we could do an x-ray or we could. And I was like, I bet you anything it is. I want the strainer. They give me antibiotics. They say I can send it out for a culture and blah, 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 blah. All these things. But she never seemed convinced that it was a kidney stone. I don't know if that's because of my age or what.
I mean, it could be any number of things. The fact that she couldn't do an x-ray that would show definitively that you had them, I think. I don't think she was willing to commit to, like, one thing. And that way, like, if her prognosis was wrong, then that would kind of...
But I demanded the strainer. We went home. It was like midnight, you guys. Before I do my first event, it's like midnight and we're driving to the place. I'm texting the woman who runs the events. I'm texting Nicole and her team. Like, you guys, I have a terrible kidney infection. I definitely just passed a kidney stone. Like, I had beyond a shadow of a doubt that I passed a kidney stone, right? Like, once she said kidney stone, I was like, nope, definitely was. Took it home and used my strainer. Now I got a kidney stone. I named it The Rock. I named it Dwayne Johnson, obviously. And then Brad's like, it's not a rock, it's a stone. I should have named it Steve Austin, so it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, but forget it. No, I'm sticking with Dwayne Johnson. I'm happy with my choices. But You guys, this happens the day I get into town, the night before this big event. I'm just feeling like my mom texted and was like, how come a big event happens? I got major, the worst case of strep I've ever had in Scotland. Lost my wallet in Chicago. And now this. And you know me. I just feel like it's a life lesson. Oh, Alfie's whining about it. I just feel like it's a life lesson. Like,
just adversity follows you wherever you go.
That's my life lesson. No, I think sometimes I'm unwilling. Brad, don't agree with this too much. I'm unwilling to hear somebody else's point until it smacks me right in the, don't make that face, until it smacks me right in the face. So Brad's like, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about all these extra things. And then the universe made me not worry about extra things. I didn't have an extra ounce of energy to donate to anything. And that's why Creative Women's League, I wasn't on stories. The whole weekend was a whirlwind because I still had to catch up on sleep in between the two classes. I went to sleep at like 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock on Friday and Saturday nights because I was running on empty. So it was kind of like all the, it was like I was running a skeleton crew, you know what I mean? In my body and brain, all the essential functions stayed, everything that was essential, but I couldn't worry about little things. And it was a gift in that way. Because if somebody said like, well, you said green instead of blue, and you said this instead of that, I just would shrug and say, I'm so sorry, guys. Like, I'm running on no sleep. I'm doing the best I can. We'll get through this together. Whereas before, I probably would have really been bugged by that. So, the dogs are wrestling.
No, Alfie's just kind of flailing around on the couch.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, he is. Okay, so...
He's doing like his best like shark impression.
So that's just... Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to just be about how like, oh, I made it through and this event was great. And it was, and I did. The event went phenomenal. It was wonderful. I met so many wonderful people. But it ended up being about a little bit more than that because I'm still recovering from this kidney infection. Even just last night, we thought I was passing another stone. So
yeah, we had just came home last night, and even on the plane, you were looking like you were in such discomfort. Like it just was not fun. Discomfort
is the name of the game. It's the pain and everything comes from just how weird you feel because you're like this. I don't know how to fix this. Like I kept saying to Brad, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to, if you have period cramps, like get in fetal position, put something warm on your tum. It'll help. But with this, it was like everything hurt and nothing was remedying it. So it was a big lesson.
I think in a case like that, you kind of just have to let it subside. Like, I don't know if there's anything you necessarily can do.
No, but you know me, I get crazed.
Yeah.
So ultimately, yeah, the lesson that I thought would be there was there. Getting to the other side of it. I mean, the second the class was done, I was ready to do another one. I was like, this is amazing. I cannot wait to do this like 16 more times over the next 6 months. So I could not wait to get back out there. But yeah, there was a big lesson in all of it. I mean, I had to shrug off a lot of things that otherwise I would have been, I didn't get to have my staff meeting that morning. And if I hadn't had a staff meeting otherwise, I would have freaked out. I didn't have the energy to freak out. I had to sleep as much as I could and take care of myself. So yeah, there's always something weird medically going on with me. But I'm trying to learn lessons through it. Like drink a lot of water.
Drink more water than you think you have to.
Oh, that's exactly it. That's what I have to do now. So, yeah. Ultimately, I do want you guys to gather from this, get to the other side. You know what I mean? But I do think the lesson when you're feeling nervous, maybe it's something we can employ is like shut down. Thanks, Alf. Like shut down all, I don't know what the word is. Like shut down all the extra systems going on your little spaceship body.
Yeah, just quiet out all the external noise.
external noise, it's all internal for me. You know what I mean? Like, I really believe that it's for the greater good and it's what I should be doing and all those things. But sometimes you really just have to run the required systems to make it through. Don't worry about the other ones. And then when you get to the other side and realize it went phenomenal, it's like, okay, now I can maybe add another system next time, or you know what I mean? Like flip on the boosters next time or whatever. So you guys, it was a trip, man. So I really wanted to show you more of my trip, especially with Leesburg and being there with Brad. Finch Knitting and Sewing Studio, they are phenomenal. We are both in love with them and Leesburg as a little town. So I really want you guys to go and see Finch. And yeah, it was a great time. There was just a big weird hiccup in the middle of it.
The beginning of it.
Oh yeah, in the beginning of it. Sorry. I feel like we've been gone for 6 weeks.
If it was in the middle of it, it would have thrown off everything. But because it was at the beginning and it's just like, we just got to power through this, then I think that made all the difference.
True. And I still didn't know I still don't know if another kidney stone's coming. I think I'm good. But at the time, you know, that day 1 or day 2, I was like, I'm definitely going to pass another stone, but it's just discomfort in my body.
I think you've said that every day since.
My body is not comfy. My body is not comfortable right now. But you guys, I love you so much. On the next trip, you know, I wanted to really show you that trip a lot more over on Tough Kitten Crafts, but there was no time. There was no time. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for hanging in with me. Say bye, Brad.
Bye, Brad.
You guys know to follow over on Instagram at Creative Women's League. Hit the subscribe button if you like what you hear. Today was a weird episode, man, but I'm so glad this was another lesson I could learn under weird circumstances. Thank you guys. Love you so much. And I will see you in the Facebook group, Creative Women's League, and on Instagram. You're still here? It's over. Go home.